We'll rejoin you and Brett Butler here momentarily, but first more on this breaking story. 2 people shot at the White House last night Eastern Time. We switch live now to CBS News correspondent Regina Blakely from the CBS News Bureau in Washington, D.C. Regina, what can you tell us?
Well, Tom, what we can tell you at this point is that it occurred on the southeast side of the White House. That would be, for what most people would be, the back side of the White House. Apparently, 11 o'clock Eastern Time tonight, a man who has now been identified as Leland Medeski of Falls Church, Virginia, which is a suburb of Washington, D.C., apparently jumped over the gate. Now, the alarms went off, and he was confronted by several uniformed Secret Service agents. Shots rang out. We're not exactly sure who shot first, but apparently the suspect was shot, we believe, in the arm. The bullet then traveled into his chest. That from the paramedic on the scene. We also understand that he is now undergoing surgery at a local hospital. Also, one Secret Service agent shot in the arm. We believe him to be okay. Now, agents say that President Clinton was in the residence at the time of the shooting. However, the president was not harmed. He had returned only a half an hour earlier from a speech that he had been giving to Democratic leaders here in Washington at a local hotel. Now, Tom, you and your viewers are well aware of the fact that it was only 4 days ago that Pennsylvania Avenue was shut down by the Secret Service to traffic for the first time in the nation's history. That, of course, followed 2 events. One, when the small plane crashed into the back of the White House last September, and then only a month later when a gunman opened fire at the front of the White House. And then, of course, there was the tragedy in Oklahoma City, which brought home the reality of what a car bomb could do. So tonight, once again, 2 people shot, one the suspect and also one Secret Service agent at the White House grounds, and yet another unfortunate incident here in Washington. One other thing to tell you, apparently the suspect did not get very far inside the fence at the time of the shooting, at least, Tom, about 30 yards away from the White House, we understand, at the time of the incident.
I appreciate your update, young lady. Thank you very much for joining us from Washington tonight.
Thank you.
All right, Regina Blakely from the CBS News Bureau in Washington, D.C. 2 people shot, one a man trying to enter, apparently, the White House grounds just shortly after 11 o'clock last night Eastern Time. Let me ask you here, and thank you for relinquishing a bit of your time so that we could bring the folks up to date. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be fine.
I always hate following a heavy news story. You can't make a joke. You're like, yeah, back to me, Tom. Okay. Anyway.
You can make a little transition. I'll help you make the transition. Tell us about your private tour of Graceland.
Oh, we
a little news story there. I saw that in one of the trades. That
took the show to Tennessee. That was one of my that was my boss's idea. I guess the alliterative effect of Grace Under Fire at Graceland was just too much for all of us to comprehend, and we went there. And you know what was funny? He said, "Well, you must love Elvis Presley because you're from the South, and doesn't it just go hand in hand?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I do, but I pale in comparison to some of my friends like Robin and Polly that I already mentioned. I mean, they really loved him." And so they just kind of took us around, and in the middle of it, I was just overwhelmed by the sense that this was someone's home and not this, you know, garish museum that I thought it was going to be. And I looked at this girl that kept giving us the tour would go like this in the rooms and say, "And this is where they had many midnight sing-alongs in just about every room." So I said, "Can I call all of my misspent youth a midnight sing-along?" Pretty much. Can that just
we're just shooting up and whistling Dixie, you know? Yeah, right.
What Mama thought it was, and it was actually quite moving. I said, "Do people start crying on this thing?" Because I was pretty moved. And she said, "Sometimes we have to call ambulances."
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it was pretty nice.
Bobby Joe on the toll-free, Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Hi.
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 How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
How are you, Miss Butler?
Hi, Bobby Joe.
We're all just fine, Bobby Joe.
Good. You spelled my name wrong.
Oh, I'm sorry. How should we spell it? B-O-B-B-I?
Yep.
Okay, we'll change. Is it J-O without the E?
Right.
Okay, we'll change that immediately to the magic.
Well, who didn't know how to spell that? Sorry.
If I say his or her name, I have to give him $50 cash.
Okay.
Anyway, Bobby Joe, what's on your mind tonight?
Well, I just wanted to tell Miss Butler that I love her show. It reminds me a lot of me. I'm a single mother of 1. On her show, she's a single mother of 3. I wanted to know if she had children in her personal life and how she dealt with everyday struggles similar or dislike to the show.
Yeah, now, Bobby Joe, we got your name up there on the screen, but we've got the, well, we just took the name off the screen.
It's on my screen, and it's right.
Okay, and do you like that little hyphen we put there, or should we take...
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. If you want to use that in your personal life, you have our permission, by the way.
Okay.
Just put courtesy of CBS at the bottom of everything you ever write.
Alrighty.
All right. Anyway, so answer her question if you can.
I have 11 children, and
You do not.
no, I don't have any. I don't have any children, and to some people that may seem like, well, then you don't have any problems at all. So I sort of model who Grace is on the way my mom raised us, which was just infinitely interested in what we did, and then the other part of it is where my mom should have really been, you know, firmer with us, because we pretty much just ran all over.
How long have you been a married person?
I've been married for 8.5 years.
At what point do your friends or your brother and
We've been
sister,
together over 10 years.
yeah, but at what point do your brothers or your sisters, rather, and people in your life ask you one of my favorite questions?
When are you going to have children?
There you go. Yeah.
You'd be so good at it. Really, you would.
You'd be the finest mommy it's ever been.
You'd be just real good at it. I think it's like the hardest job to be a mom or a dad and be there and do it effectively and really. I also think there's a lot of kids in the world, which is the next one. Well, y'all could adopt one. You know. Yeah, I think it is, and I think it's more generally put to women.
No question about it.
Definitely
no
is.
question.
As if somehow I'm not, you know, satisfied, or I am missing something. I'm sure I am missing something, but I also feel like I do so many things creatively. I'm not comparing it. I am comparing it to parenthood, by God.
Okay.
I am.
And so when you're asked that question, what is your answer?
Why don't I? I just go, well, first of all, I believe it's pretty personal, and I'm pretty upfront about it. I think it would be just a grueling job, and I'm not sure I'm up to it. There's a lot of things I am good at, and I'm not sure I'd be the kind of parent I would like to be.
Yeah. Bobby Joe, thanks for calling.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
But you got me to thinking, hon.
But now let me ask you a question.
Thank you.
Suppose you send this outline in to the publisher of the book, and it comes back, we'd like to know more about why you don't have children. Would you then...
I've actually put quite a bit in there. I have received an odd amount of letters requesting me to reproduce. And not even erotic ones, Tom, like where people ask me to have their children.
I understand.
Okay, okay. Do you want me to delve further into it? No,
but
they say, why don't you have children? And a lot of women do it, and we wish this for you. And they just have to believe me that I believe them when they say that there is no greater joy, that I do believe that. But I believe there are parallel joys in this world.
And that you're experiencing them now in the creative process.
Sure, and I think, you know, it might be good enough that I am the, you know, I had one, like, really young woman journalist say once, I was doing a show called Take Your Daughters to Work Day. She goes, well, you're not a mother. I said, well, I'm a daughter. And I do this fictitious mom, and I was in the house, and I helped a lot with my 4 little sisters. So, you know, it's just a 23-minute sitcom, so I feel like up to the task of, you know, being her momentarily. I wish she were a little more irregular. I wish she, you know, didn't have makeup on all the time, and her hair looked a little worse, and I wish she'd get depressed, and sometimes Grace Under Fire is just bloody not walking out that door for men and women. I don't want this just to be something that single women relate to. I don't have a gender agenda with this thing at all.
I really like talking with you about stuff like this, and I thank you for sharing your stories with us tonight. Next time we're going to start when you were working at the radio station in New York, okay?
Let's do it. Thanks,
all right.
Tom.
Brett Butler, who can be seen on the ABC television network in Grace Under Fire. Next, Whitley Strieber and some amazing stories of communication after these messages. You really are, dear.